The Motion Drive with Lecomotion and Stay Mashoba. Like, follow, and tweet us at VumaFM.
So khona ku business coach and entrepreneur right now yena Sbonelo-Mbatha. Namhlanje sizokhuluma about how do you go about scaling up a business lakho. Hey, yabona ke manje masu scale up a business uzodinga ama principles athize azokuchazela wona umthi ugrand fit asingene straight kona these three principles. Imaphi lama three principles nango kusithi sifuna scale up a business lakhe.
Sure. So I think abalaleli must realize ukuthi a business is like a child, yeah. So uma ngabe uzala ingane, you need to feed it nicely, and ingane futhi uma ngabe uyifeeda kahle ikhula kahle. But the reality again is that while there are parents that are capable of handling twins, but twins are not for everyone.
Yes, sir.
So in other words, there are people that are just good enough owning just one business. So it's important to uzazi when your skill set, your ability. And in most cases, because we've seen people handling so many businesses out there, we then believe nati we are good enough for that.
Somewhat diversify fast, you know.
Yeah. So you would actually hear, those that have been following me for some time, you'd hear that I tend to warn against ukushesha too quickly, because I've seen people when they were doing very well with one business, then they start to want to grow too quickly too soon, and then mase kwalena lele lot business bebenalo ligcine selifa. Because I'm entrepreneurs in general, we are ambitious people.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
we don't have a nerve to say no to good opportunities, and so that is why I then tend to try and warn people, while scaling up is good, but there's a time where it is crucial that you don't scale up at that particular time. So Njengamaje, today I think one of the things that we'll touch on is, how do you know, number one, how do you know Uguti, now I am at the right time to scale up? And perhaps there's just three things that I want to mention. How do I know? Yeah, how do I know? Number one, you know when you have turned your customers into raving fans. Yeah? The moment you know ukuthi ama customers akho out there are all singing praises about your product, about your service, about your offering, whatever it is that you're doing, and you find out good wherever you go, everybody's talking about you. This is when you see yourself trending on social media, other people sharing your service because they are so excited about it, or rather people are just talking about you everywhere.
Yeah.
On a good side, then you know, Guti, okay, that could be a sign that I'm now almost ready to grow. Number two, how do you know that you're ready to grow? Your staff have made you become unnecessary. You've put processes in place. Ezenza ukuthi noma ungekho noma ukhona noma ukho akuyafana, nama customers don't even know whether you're there or you're not there, because your staff have become so competent and so skillful that you've become unnecessary.
Hayi uzothi Mike, hey kusho ukuthi ngamanye amazwi uchaza ukuthi bekumnandi ungekho.
The Motion Drive with Lecomotion and Stay Mashoba. Like, follow, and tweet us at VumaFM.
It's Dance Tonight, the music of Lucy Pearl. We're live on Facebook at VumaFM right now as we're catching up nayo umthia in the studio. How do you start scaling up a business lakho? So he's got about three principles that he would like to discuss with us. Uyingenelile yokuqala, uyingenelile yesibili kancane, but yeah, asingene nje full on kuyona manje mthia le principle yesibili ufanele siyigade when trying to scale up your business.
So we said, when your staff have made you become unnecessary.
Yep.
And then the third one, when you often have to turn away customers or make them wait for too long. So you know that you are on the verge of scaling up. You should actually scale up. Mawukuthi umthungi njalo sukuthi abantu uthi hey ingubo yakho uzoyithola next month ngoba unabantu abaningi, or umakhi usulindisa abantu kakhulu ufuna ukwakha, or something, or anything like that. Or you've got a business la khona iqueue isiyinde abantu ukuthi bangene esitolo, uyabona now it's time to open another branch. So those are just three things that you can actually look at for you to ukugauge nje ukuthi I'm now at a point of scaling. But how do you actually scale up, right? So there is a principle, it's just 3 principles that we adopt. We call it build, buy, or borrow. In this case, we are referring to human capital.
Sure.
Abantu, abasebenzi, right? So number 1, you either build. That means you look from your internal resource. Abantu nabo ngaphakathi. Is there an opportunity to scale them up? Is there an opportunity to train them up? Ukuthi babe yilento ofuna ukuthi bayiyona and they can handle more work. But number 2, you buy. What does that mean? You can buy existing skill set out there. That is why you've got things like labor brokers. My labor brokers are there to bridge that gap. I know Gucci, it's a contentious issue in my labor brokers, but they have a business model that works for you and I as entrepreneurs. How? Because they have people that are already trained, abanye babo, and people that are just ready to plug and play. So you probably could be looking at buying that existing skill set elsewhere. But number 3, you can borrow the skill set, right? So I said you build, buy, or borrow. Now, what do I mean by borrowing? It's not every time that you need to employ people. And I know, Guti, I'm entrepreneurs, we get excited by employing people. How many staff members do you have? I employ 15 people, you know? It sounds
Staff compliment.
Yeah, staff compliment. But the reality is that not every time should you be employing people full-time. Sometimes, if you are, for example, let me make an example, you are a graphics designer. Yeah, and you all of a sudden you get this influx of work abantu befuna ukuthi ubenzele umsebenzi, but lo msebenzi awukho sustainable for a long term. That is why you could be looking at, for example, getting ama designers I say India. They are cheap but they are efficient. I-client yakho ayinandaba ukuthi ubani owenza umsebenzi, ifuna umsebenzi wenziwe. So that is when you can borrow a skill set from elsewhere, get it in your company, and give the best service that you can.
The Motion Drive with Lecomotion and Stay Mashoba. Like, follow, and tweet us at VumaFM.
So Mtia, sesivala manje mnganami sivala kanjani?
So asivale ngokuthi ke you know, this principle of buying, building, or borrowing, it's important to understand ukuthi each of them has some knock-on effects, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's important to understand uma ngabe kufanele uqashe kunama requirements adingakalayo. If futhi you want to borrow a skill elsewhere, it doesn't come cheap, but maybe it's good as a plug and play. So I think each scenario as an entrepreneur will need to respond accordingly. You can do your own assessment in your own business and apply the right principle. Having said that, it's very important then ukuthi understand ukuthi ebhizinisini kunakubana lento esibiza ngama KPIs. So uma ngabe usumqashile umuntu or you've insourced whatever services from elsewhere, make sure that your KPIs are clear. I've committed to pay your salary. What am I getting in return for it? So this is very, very, very important. Yeah. I think as I'm signing out, ngomhla 2 July, Uzinhle is holding what they call the evolution of entrepreneurship. I will be there ngomhla 2 July. It's a business breakfast. Onomo Hotel. Do you know that hotel? Onomo Hotel.
Ilazi kahle baba.
Ngisanda kwazi ngalo. Yeah, ngathi mangimenyo kwathiwa ngiyokhuluma Onomo Hotel.
Wavela wabona hayi u-on ngempela.
Ngathi is this overseas? Kwathiwa no ila eThekwini. Yeah.
Khona nje la edolobheni.
Yeah, so 8:30 ngicela ke abalaleli bavakashela ipage lika Sbonelo-Mbatha on socials, wonke ama details alapho. The very exciting news as well, in celebration of Youth Month, Glory Bush Foundation, which is a foundation that my wife and I have, we are doing a career expo.
Okay.
It's the biggest career expo that's ever happened, and siyenzele emakhaya. The reason is because emakhaya mfethu you know the youth yakhona is forgotten, you know. So we've partnered with the aviation lela bazofika ne helicopter so that ingane zikwazi ukubona ibhanoyi in real life, kuzobe khona ama pilot who will be telling them about career yokuba a pilot, and thanks to my good friends abazosiphelezela uThina Zungu, uJacinta Ngobese, your own here, Sputla Sibogodi, abanye bamazi ngomashaba generations back then uzobe khona kanjalo noSiyamhlongo. So sobe semlinganiswa enqabeni kwaShale ngomgqibelo from 8:30 to 49.
No, great one. Uzombamba khona laphana ku YouTube uyena uSbonelo-Mbatha. So sizoyivala ke manje Sibonelo mnganami, ngaphandle kwa YouTube ukhona kuma socials noma sathi siyaphuma kuwena.
Angikhona mfethu. I'm accommodating you, yeah. YouTube or kuma socials uSbonelo-Mbatha. uSbonelo ke wami uSBO.
The Motion Drive with Lecomotion and Stay Mashoba. Like, follow and tweet us at